the meeting to order officially, like that. Call the roll, please.
Senator John Edwards.
Here.
Andrew Casiello.
I'm here.
Kevin Harris. Lynn Haith. Delegate Chris Head.
Here.
Brian Hemphill.
Here.
Lorraine Lang.
Here.
Annette Lewis. Melissa Lubin.
Here.
James McCoy. Jean Motley Husky.
Here. Dr. Lang is there.
Tracy Nestor.
Here.
Jennifer Pittman.
Here.
Delegate Charles Poindexter.
Here.
Charles Price.
Here.
Robert Sandel. Susan Short.
Here.
Elda Stanko Downey.
Here.
Kevin Harris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Lynn Haith.
There he is. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, you want to introduce?
Annette Lewis.
Okay, good.
Annette Lewis is present.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, we have several guests joining us today. Deputy Secretary of Education, Fran Bradford. We have a student from Radford University, Andrea Tiller. Richard Turner from JMU. Scott Weimer from Virginia Tech. Eula Price from Radford University. Gordon Jones, our auditor, is here. Have I missed anyone? And of course, the Roanoke Higher Education Center staff, Alexandra Thacker, Carla James Jackson, Jamie Miller, Jeremiah McMillan, and Lori Van Kuren.
Okay, good. Welcome everybody to this meeting. We are meeting virtually by Zoom in accordance with the Attorney General's opinion of May the 6th, 2020. I'm not going to read it all. I'm sure you're very familiar with that because every meeting seems like we've had since last spring has been with the General Assembly, and a lot of other committee and commission meetings have been through Zoom. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2020 Board of Trustees meeting?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. We have a student testimonial. Carla James Jackson, would you like to introduce the Radford University Nursing graduate student?
Thank you, Chairman Edwards. We are delighted today to have a student from Radford University, a recent graduate, Andrea Tiller, who would like to share her thoughts and address the board about her experience as a student here at the Roanoke Higher Education Center. She, again, is with Radford University, and she graduated in from their BSN program that is offered here at the Higher Education Center. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrea.
Andrea?
Hi, thank you all for having me today. I'm just going to share some things, some experiences that I had, and just, I guess, give you some insight in the, day of the life of an RHEC student. Just a little background. I graduated in December of 2019, so I can't believe it's almost a year. I started the nursing program, I believe in 2017, somewhere around there in January. So for Radford, the January admits go to RHEC. We travel to RHEC, very regularly. So in any given week, I drove to RHEC probably 2 to 3 times a week. And I know none of you really have control over this, but it's in a great location. It's right off 581. We never had any issue with parking or anything like that. So after that, I just want to hit on a couple things about the classroom and, the way everything was set up. We had 2 classrooms we could utilize plus a computer lab, and that was really beneficial to a lot of students. And if I say we, I mean my fellow students that I had graduate with me. So we utilized the 2 classrooms and the computer lab quite often. But one of my favorite parts about RHEC was the sim lab that's on the first floor. That I know my fellow students and I that was probably my favorite part. It was in the same building. We didn't have to park anywhere else, and it was, state of the art facility, mannequins, everything. The staff down there was wonderful, and I can really say I'm really glad that that was there and that was available for us for our studies. Does anyone have any specific questions for me? I'm open to anything.
Andrea, do you want to talk about what you're doing now that you've graduated?
Sure,
Where you
yeah.
working?
So
What are you doing?
I graduated in 2019. I'm actually from the Radford area. I went to a smaller high school in Reiner, Auburn High School. So I graduated in 2019. I started working in February. I actually took my boards in February as well, and RHEC was still available for us to study. Just because we graduated, the staff at Radford and RHEC still support us in preparation for our boards. As far as internet, computers, a place to go, a quiet, safe place to be, because boards are a big deal. It requires a lot of preparation and study time. But so I did that, passed my boards in February, started working. I actually work at Corellia, New River Valley on the critical care unit. So I've been there for about a year.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear that you call it RHEP.
RHEC.
RHEP.
Yeah, I guess that's what we all call it.
RHEC. Okay.
RHEC, yes.
We should have had a better acronym.
Susan Short from Virginia Tech. Thank you so much for joining us today. And there aren't many opportunities for students to give testimonies in front of their presidents.
Right.
So I don't know what Brian's thinking about at the moment, but could you just share a thought or two about what you learned about yourself through this process and additional experiences provided to you at the Roanoke Higher Education Center?
Sure. Learning nursing school is a totally different beast than I feel, some other degrees. But, I just learned that, I can focus and get through and, do what I need to do to be successful. And, that is tested and tested again through any nursing program, not just, Radford's one of the best. And that's actually, when I was going through high school, Radford was always local. And I thought, why would I go somewhere else when one of the best nursing schools in Virginia is in my backyard? Like, for me, it just didn't make sense to leave. And, I had this wonderful opportunity right there. But I definitely just found, I could focus, and I definitely had support from others, staff, fellow students, definitely the staff at RHEC and Radford are all wonderful. Everyone in the nursing program, they know what they're doing. They've done it before. They know how to, make you successful and give you the tools you need to be successful. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry, I got lost in the first.
No, you're fine. I always have 3 questions in one statement, but I have another one for you.
Yes.
If there's anything we could change or do differently at the Higher Education Center through your experiences, what would you recommend to us?
Change. Honestly, we had everything we needed. We had the 2 classrooms, we had the computer lab, we had the sim lab. The nursing suite is on the 3rd floor for staff. We utilized that for meetings or whatever we needed. The seasons and occasions is downstairs, which is very helpful. It's always good for a snack. Parking was, for a building in a city, we never had an issue with it. So I can honestly say I had everything I needed, and I was pleased with everything, really.
Terrific. Thanks so much and congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much. No problem.
I only have a couple of quick comments. One, we wouldn't have that fabulous SIM Center if it were not for the hard work of Senator Edwards in Richmond on our behalf. So I have all of you to give me help to give a virtual round of applause for Senator Edwards and his leadership to have that.
Yes, absolutely.
Secondly, a request for Andrea, if she could definitely go on social media and talk about being one of the best right here in your backyard. But number two, make sure you add on that particular tweet that you didn't have any problems with parking. You loved parking. Parking was not a problem.
I did, and I didn't have a problem with
I
parking.
get more
That's a
complaints
big
about
one.
parking than anything else. Parking
Yes,
was
I'm
food.
sure.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dr. Hemphill.
Yeah.
Very proud of you, Andrea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you, Doctor. You know, Radford University was the university that stepped up to the plate when we were first starting the Roanoke Higher Education Center and to offer the third and fourth year of college in particular. So we appreciate Radford's involvement more than you can realize. Anybody else have any comments? Well, thank you very much, Andrea, and good luck to you in your career.
Thank you. Thank you
And
all.
and don't forget us. Come back to Seasons and Occasions if not.
Oh, I
Otherwise.
sure will. I sure will.
Good. Okay. We're now honored to have with us the Deputy Secretary of Education for Higher Education, the Honorable Fran Bradford. Thank you, Fran, for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and good afternoon. You'd think by now, after being in this job for nearly 3 years, I'd learned not to follow a student because they're always, or a recent graduate because they're always so hard to follow. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Kay for letting me join you a bit this afternoon. I know you have a busy agenda. And thank you again to Andrea for taking time to give her perspective on RHEC, which is not how I had referred to it, but I like the approach. I bring greetings and thanks from the Secretary to all of you for your service on the board and to the Commonwealth. I've had the pleasure of working with Senator Edwards, and he may not want me to say this, but for more than 25 years. He is an always 25, Senator. He's always been a staunch supporter of Virginia higher education, both public and private, as well as our higher ed centers, and we are lucky to continue to have your experience in the Virginia Senate. And I don't have enough time to say everything I'd like to say about Kay, so I'll simply say that she's been an invaluable resource to the Secretary's office and me personally since we began. She hosted one of the Secretary's early tour stops that our very first year, and she has always been available when I call with crazy questions, and she usually says yes even before I finish asking the question, and we are always really grateful for that. I'd like to also acknowledge the Center's board. You all are an amazing representation of higher education, government, and the private sector, all of which have to work together in order for Virginia to be successful. And I'm lucky to call several of you all as personal friends, and so it's really great to see some of you all for the first time, visually in a long time. I know this is a volunteer board in many respects, and I'll use air quotes there, but we all know that this requires a great deal of time and effort, and really, really grateful for all of the time and effort you put in. And I'd really like to give a special shout out to the center staff. I know this has been a really difficult time for folks, both personally and professionally. And I just want to make sure that you know that we here in Richmond in the Secretary's office and the Governor's office really value the work that you're doing, really value you all personally, and know that none of the work of the center could be done without you. So really just wanted to say thank you. As Kay knows, I'm a huge believer in Virginia's higher ed centers. They are creative, engaged in their communities, working to bring businesses nearby and train the workers needed, and they are nimble, which can be a rarity in Virginia higher education, although some of the board members that you all have are from institutions that are also incredibly nimble. And this nimbleness is especially needed right now, as the higher ed centers are truly stepping up to the plate, helping to adjust to address workforce needs that are ever changing as a result of COVID. I know some of this work in part because I try to join the regular call of the higher ed centers. They have a call every month or so. And it's actually one of my highlights every month because just hearing the incredible things that folks like Kay and her colleagues around the state are doing, it's just so heartening and exciting to know what's happening. And really, in short, because of these crazy times, higher ed centers are playing this incredibly critical role as Virginia seeks to maintain its rightful place as the best state for business. but also to help ensure Virginia reaches its goal of being the best educated state in the nation. And those two things are intricately connected, and higher education centers are right at the nexus of that. And we are just really grateful for all that you are doing. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me join you for a little bit today so that I could say thank you to all of you for the work you are doing. We're just so happy and proud to be associated with you all, and just here to be supportive and helpful where we can. So Mr. Chairman and Kay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Fran. Anybody have any questions? I want to thank you for your wonderful comments about our staff. You're right on. We have a terrific staff here, and we're very proud of them. And thank you for joining our meeting. We now go to the most exciting part, the audit. If you don't understand numbers, you can go to sleep. But no, seriously, Gordon Jones is here with Robinson Farmer Cox Associates to deliver the 2020 audit report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are known for putting people to sleep, so hopefully I can keep some of you interested. We had a pretty good question last time, so some people are paying attention. But anyway, it's good to see a fellow Highlander doing so well, Andrea. I graduated from there a few years back, so congratulations. But anyway, my name is Gordon Jones, and I'm the partner in charge of the audit. This is the first year for the audit. We enjoyed working with the staff, and I'll also comment that the staff there is wonderful to work with, and it made the process a lot easier. This first document that you're seeing is our communication to those charged with governance. That's you, the board. It's a summary of the audit process. Not a whole lot too exciting stuff to start off with here. It'll probably put you to sleep quicker than the rest of it. So we'll just pass on through this. And again, this is just a summary of the audit process. It's really informational items. This next letter is a management comment letter. And I probably didn't explain these comments very well last time, hence the question that was brought up by Mr. Price, I believe. But these are comments that we feel would improve your internal control. They're considered deficiencies. The first two are internal control comments. The last one is a compliance comment. But they don't rise to the level that we would put them in the audit report. So when we talk about the audit report and it's a clean report, even though you had a couple comments, it doesn't rise to the level that we feel we should comment in the actual report. So these are just items to help improve internal control. The first one, we recommended to have at least 2 people sign the checks. The second one is to come up with a cover letter for journal entries to document who did it and who approved it and what was included in the journal entry. And the last comment we made had to do with financial disclosure forms. The authority board of trustees is required to fill out conflict of interest forms. I think theirs is actually called a financial disclosure form is the required form. If you fill one out as a senator, for example, you're probably doing the conflict of interest form, which is a higher level, and that one can be substituted for the financial disclosure form. We had 5 board members that we couldn't find one for, so we made a comment related to that. Those are due February the 2nd, so February 1st. So as that date approaches, please remember to complete one of these. Hopefully I explained these comments a little bit better than I did last time. Are there any questions related to these before I move on?
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving on, your financial statements for fiscal year ending 2020. The first couple pages I'd like to look at are on pages 1 and 2. This is the independent auditor's report. From an auditing standpoint, I'll stop here, please. From an auditing standpoint, probably the most important piece is that opinion paragraph at the bottom. It's a clean, unmodified opinion, highest level of assurance that you can receive. Not anything better that you can prove on there. Moving on.
Go ahead.
This is MD&A, Management Discussion and Analysis, prepared by Ms. Van Kuren. It's a wonderful MD&A. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I would encourage you to read it. Some of them we get are better than others, and this is surely a good one. So it's a layman's explanation of the financial statements without getting too technical. Hopefully that's a good way to explain it, but I won't comment on this any further. Over on page 14, you have, next page down is Exhibit 1. This is your statement of net position. This is your balance sheet, another word for balance sheet. They just rearranged it. Now they call it a statement of net position. A couple things I'll just point out on here is you had some long-term debt, and that's why those numbers are 0 for 2020. You paid all that off during the year. At the bottom, you have your net position. You have investment in capital assets of about $30 million. There's no debt, so it's not called net investment in capital assets, just called investment in capital assets. If you look up about 2/3 or about 1/3 down the page, you'll see your capital assets net of depreciation of that same number. So your net position's $33 million, but you have a little over $30 million in fixed assets, and you can't use that for ongoing operations. So the important piece is that unrestricted piece there at $2.7 million. That's down about $500,000 from the previous year. Keep going. Your foundation is shown as a component unit, so just greatly presented component unit of the authority. This is basically your income statement. It's a statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Shows your changes in net position decrease by about $1.3 million. And again, that $33 million is your ending net position, which we talked about on the previous schedule. Come on down to Exhibit 5. This is your statement of cash flows. This is supposed to help you see what happened to your cash throughout the year. It takes out all the accruals. It's just basically what cash you started with, which you started with $2.9 million, not including investments, and you ended up with about $2.2 million. They're supposed to be helpful, but they can be pretty complicated as well. Come on down. I think the notes, that's still the foundation component unit, and then the notes start, I believe. There are a bunch of notes, footnotes to the financial statements. If you want to read more, go to sleep even further, just read a few of these, but we'll skip all the way down to the end of the report. I would give you the page number, but it's supposed to be, it'll be close to 129. You have a lot of RSI. I'm sorry, that's the end of this. Yeah, sorry. That's the whole document. I'm not sure what page it'll be, but it's the last couple pages of the report. These exhibits that follow the notes are considered RSI, or required supplementary information. Most of it's dealing with your, stop there please. Most of it's dealing with the pension plan through VRS, or other post-employment benefits, group life insurance through VRS as well. This last report, the last 2 pages of the report, is our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. This kind of goes with the management comments that I talked about earlier. If we felt like those management comments rose to a level that would be considered a significant deficiency or a material weakness, you would have a reference here. And behind that, we would have something that explains why we consider it to be a significant deficiency or a material weakness. We did not consider those to be, did not rise to that level. So this is a clean report. No significant deficiencies or material weaknesses presented. And that's the distinction between putting in a management comment and putting in actually in the report. That's about it. All I was going to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, the audit went well. The transition from the previous auditor was smooth. We had There are a few reports that we send to the state. One is the CAFR, since it's the Comprehensive Annual Financial Statement is sent to the state to be included in the state's CAFR, since they are a component unit of the state. There's a VRS attestation report that we are required to test VRS. That was a clean report, and it was also sent to the Auditor of Public Accounts. I think that concludes what I was going to say. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay, any questions? All right, Gordon Jones, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank
We
you.
appreciate your report. It wasn't as dry as some people may have thought.
Good.
But
Good.
thank you very much. Very informative. We got a clean report, and we're very pleased about that.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now Elder Stanko Downey as a recommendation by the Budget Review Committee.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Senator Edwards. And it's tough to follow the auditor. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that quick yet thorough presentation of the audit. But I bring forth a recommendation from our Budget Review Committee. So think of this as the fun side of the numbers, where we get to suggest what we can do with some of those numbers. The Budget Review Committee met in April, as you can see from the agenda. At that time, which seems like 20 million years ago, really, for all of us, we were being extra cautious, being very conservative, not knowing if there would be any potential state funding reductions. And so we agreed to reconvene in the 2021 Q1 to discuss any potential salary increase recommendations. And so the committee is bringing forth the following recommendation that you can see, which is after meeting on November 2nd, we recommend it to the executive committee and now to the full board, a 2% cost of living increase for all of the center's staff. We also recommend up to $10,000 as a fixed number to be directed for a one-time appreciation bonus for the staff, and that this $10,000 be distributed at the discretion of the executive director. And that is our recommendation from the Budget Review Committee, Senator Edwards.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments about this recommendation? Is there an approval of the, yeah, go ahead.
Delegate Poindexter, question.
Yes.
Yes. When would the effective date of this raise be?
The effective date?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Poindexter. I think maybe Lori, would this be something that you could address, please?
Yes, ma'am. So if it is approved today, the next paycheck will reflect this increase, and the Budget Review Committee and the Executive Committee agreed to retro that back to the beginning of the fiscal year, and that would be on a separate deposit for the staff.
July 1.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion on the recommendation? Motion to approve the recommendation of the Budget Review Committee.
Andy Casiello, so moved.
Is there a second?
Brian Hill, second.
Any just further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve the recommendation of the Budget Review Committee as Elder Stanko Downey has described it, say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elder. And now review of financials as of September 30, 2020. Elder Stanko Downey and Laurie Van Kuren.
Thank you, Senator Edwards, and thank you to the board for the positive vote. And on this next agenda item, I will yield to Laurie Van Kuren for the presentation.
So this report is where our financials stand as of the first quarter of the year ending September 30th. And if you scroll forward to the statement of net position, this is the first statement that I'll discuss. There we go. So our cash and cash equivalents as of the end of the quarter are $3,199,120. This is down from the first quarter of last year because we paid off our energy loan between these 2 quarters. That loan payoff was $509,000. So adjusting for that payout, our actual cash grew about $307,000. All of our cash is invested in checking accounts, money market accounts, some certificate of deposits, and the LGIP, local government investment pool. Our money market accounts, because of the state of the economy, aren't earning that much right now. We're ranging from 0.25 to 0.70%. But we were able to lock in some really good rates on our CDs. They're ranging from 2 to 2.95%. And if I remember correctly, I think those will last through at least through the end of the fiscal year, I think into FY21. So hopefully the rates will come back up and we can reinvest in some other deposits. Our capital assets, if you look down a little further, the net capital assets of $29,802,000. That's a decrease from last year based on the depreciation of our capital asset base. We did have asset additions. If you look at the depreciable capital assets line of $50,079,000, some of the additions in our capital asset base include technological upgrades, a new fire panel, some HVAC fan coil replacements, and higher education trust fund equipment. Moving down to the bottom of that report, our liabilities. Our accounts payable and accrued liabilities consists of basically 2 main categories. One is prepaid rent, where some of our members pay their lease payments in advance. We did have 2 members that paid a year in advance. And then there's also a $254,000 advance funding from the Commonwealth for our plaza project. The non-current liabilities, you'll see, have decreased significantly because of that loan payoff of $500,000. So before I move on to the next statement, do we have any questions on this one?
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none.
All right, the next one is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, or more commonly known as an income statement. Our operating revenues are down a bit from where they were this time last year. Most of that is because of some lost revenues in day rental due to building closure and the social distancing aspect and the amount of members, clients, and guests that we can have in an area at one time. We have seen increase in activity in the first quarter after the building being closed last spring, and some definite decreases over the summer. But we do anticipate this to pick up after some other restrictions are lifted. Our operating expenses are a little below the first quarter budget and last year. A couple of things that I do want to point out in the specific line items are, for salaries, the increase is related to healthcare cost increase that were effective July 1. In the facilities department, the decrease there is mostly attributed to carpet replacement that happened last year, and all the carpet replacement is actually funded through capital maintenance reserve, so that's not really an operational budget hit, but that does explain the decline from last year. In our admin area, there's an increase there related to our anniversary expenses that we had, as well as the economic impact study. And our academic and student services line item is a little below last year based on some timing and some refunds that we received for program incentives. Do I have any questions so far on this? There's really nothing else to point out. Our state appropriation, local government funding is the same as it was last year. So really consistent there. Any questions or any other detail you guys would like?
Any other funding? Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, this is Lorraine. I just had a question about the healthcare increases. Did the higher ed center pay all of that, or did the staff had to increase some of the money that they are giving for healthcare?
The higher ed center elected to absorb the increase.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. No further questions? Okay.
We'll move on to the third report then. That is our reserve analysis. And as of, I wanted to give you guys an up-to-date picture. So this one is not as of first quarter. This one was as of the writing of the report, which was November 9th. Our cash reserve balance was $3,229,869. If you follow the report down a little bit, you'll see some adjustments to that balance where we took out $156,000 for items that were already previously slated and approved by the board for projects to come out of our cash reserves. We also deducted the prepaid rent receipts and the balance of advance funding for the plaza, and then added back in some monies that were kind of in the pipeline due from the state for our capital maintenance reserves, giving us an adjusted reserve of $2,753,560. And for our policy, our reserve balance should be between a minimum and maximum target set by the policy, and we are well above both the minimum and the maximum at this point in time. So we're in a really good state with our cash and investments. Part of this is due to the fact that last fiscal year we had a sizable surplus, even with everything that happened in revenue losses and so forth. We were able to maintain I'm sorry. We were able to maintain our expenses to a point that we could be in this positive position that we are today. Any questions on that report?
Any questions? Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next line item, Senator, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And that is the review of the executive director's travel. This report shows all expenses related to Kay's travel in the community and elsewhere related to center business, and it's detailed by location, other attendees within there. Kay, do you have anything that you would like to add on this report?
Basically, Lori, trips to and from Richmond, meals with board members and prospective board members, and you will see a lot of City of Roanoke parking fees.
I'm glad you're paying the parking fees anyway.
Most of these are in your office complex.
Oh God. You can park on the street. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to present.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the director's travel expenses? I don't see the trip around the world, Kay. But is a motion to approve the minimal travel expenses of Kay Dunkley?
So move.
Is there a second? Second.
Second.
Hey, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, you haven't been traveling enough, okay? All right. Anything else, Laurie? Laurie, anything else, Laurie?
Sorry, no, sir, that's all that I have to present.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a personnel committee update on the executive director's goals. Jennifer Pittman.
Thank you. Agenda item 9 is the final version of the executive director goals for the current year. So following your feedback on the initial goal statements targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also the possible impact of COVID were added, you would have seen those highlighted when the goals were sent back out to you in their final format. Nothing else has changed since you received that version. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and otherwise today I'm asking the board to formally approve these goals as they are reflected in your packet.
Any discussion on agenda item number 9, goals for the executive director for 2020-2021? Any comments? Okay, is there a motion that we approve these goals? Second?
Second.
This
Been
is
moved
Lynette Lewis, second.
It's been moved and seconded that the goals for the executive director for 2020-2021 be approved. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
all opposed no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Moving on to the Roanoke Higher Education Center's Foundation Board. Kay Dunkley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are now on agenda item number 10. Our fundraising priorities and financial goals have been completed, and you will see those on a handout in your packet. And development of case statements have been put together as well for those 4 fundraising priorities, which include a career center, the financial goal set for $250,000, scholarships for tuition assistance for students to attend classes here at the Higher Education Center in the amount of $50,000, an innovation fund to provide seed money to our partner institutions developing new program that aligns with workforce needs, $250,000, and then support of the REGC mission, $200,000, which we call our unrestricted donations. Mr. Chair, as you are well aware, at our November meeting this year with the foundation, these total $750,000, and it is our hope from the members of our board that this could be achieved before 2025.
Okay.
From the checklist provided, we're going to be talking about the proposed terms of office according to Virginia law and Virginia State Corporation Commission, and we have included a handout regarding that. Nancy Gray is our fundraising consultant, who is senior consultant with Gonzer Gerber out of Naperville, Illinois. I will say that Nancy has been a great aid, a great resource, and a great sounding board for us as we start this capital campaign. We have in process a goal of receiving 100% contributions from our foundation board. Since these notes were put together, Mr. Chair, I can now report we have 100% giving because I understand there is a check in the mail to us this week. So, our donor list, potential donors, started out with 32 names, and now we have doubled that. Holding individual Zoom meetings with our board members has been extremely helpful in getting their points of view, and our board members are very connected to the community and are linking us with some what we feel are those who have the capacity and the potential to give. While our donations do not seem or probably appear a whole lot to you, our board, our donations now, Lori, are about at the $37,000 level. May not seem to be a lot, but for those of us that are just getting into this fundraising arena, $37,000 of additional funding is big news for us. Our board accepted the resignation of Joseph Lascala, Vice President of Operations for Revlon, Elizabeth Arden, who has encountered many, many difficulties due to the COVID Our solicitation of donations from you, our Board of Trustees, Senator Edwards, it is our hope that your letter will be going out in the mail no later than Friday of this week. I understand. And we are always recruiting for additional foundation board members, with conversations taking place right now with 2 individuals. Since these notes were put together, we are in the development stages of a media rollout announcing our campaign. We have developed a pyramid of fundraising giving, and we are putting together a list of corporate partners, of which we can hopefully expect for a 5-year giving amount. Mr. Chairman, I would like to bring before the committee, bring before this board, the approval of the Virginia State Corporation Corporation Commission for terms of office for our directors. At our November 12th meeting, our directors did approve the 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year according to groups A, B, C, and D.
Okay, we have before you for approval dividing the members of the directors of the foundation board categories, 4 categories that, and the terms are not limited. They can be renew their terms, but 1 person for in group A category, 1 director in the group A category for 1-year term, group B category for 2-year term, group C category 3 years a term, and a group D category for a 4-year term. What will happen is next year the person in group A can be elected to a 4-year term. We started out with a staggering term so that every year there's some people who will be elected. 4 categories again: 1-year term starting out, 2-year term, 3-year term, and then a 4-year term. There, as I call it, 5 people in the category D 4-year term category, 4 people in the group C category, 3 in the group B category, and 1 person in the group A category. I think you have it in front of you. Is there a motion we adopt these staggered terms for the members of the foundation board?
So moved.
Is there a second? 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 Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion to approve?
Senator Edwards, this
yes,
is Susan.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question, and Kay, you probably can remind me. I think in the initial formation of the foundation and examining the terms of office of the directors of the commission, that we wanted to always designate 1 member that would be from a member institution at the Roanoke Higher Education Center. So I know from Senator Edwards' description that people may be able to replace one another, but I don't want to lose sight that that was one of our initial value propositions, if you will, that there would always be a representative from a member institution.
Thank you, Dr. Short. Yes, that statement is included in our bylaws and articles of incorporation. Dr. Melissa Lubin, our representative from JMU, is our institutional rep. And we, of course, hope that Melissa will continue even after her 3-year term is up in 2023.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Are you ready to vote to approve the staggered terms of members of the foundation board? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. Now we move on to the other priority. Does not have to be approved by the board, I don't believe, is the foundation board's fundraising priorities.
Does not require approval from this board, John, but we will be able to entertain any questions they might have. This was a decision based upon, of course, Charles Price and Melissa Lubin, and you yourself, Senator Edwards, are on both boards. Perhaps you might have some comments about how we arrived at these 4 fundraising priorities.
If you see it in front of you, the fundraising priorities are 4 categories. We set it as a category, $250,000 to be raised to assist students and workers, employees, and employers in the region in what we call a career center. And it sets down different things that that would do: resume writing, interview preparation, portfolio development, career redirection, tips and techniques on entering the workforce, internships with businesses and industries, and job opportunities and referrals. So that's called a career center to assist students and workers. And our goal would be to raise $250,000 in that category. The second category is scholarships, $50,000 tuition assistance to attend classes here at the REC, how we call it? REC, Roanoke Higher Education Center. It needs a better acronym, I think, but anyway, tuition assistance for students in collaboration with partner institutions. We hope to raise $50,000 for that. The third category is innovation funds to provide seed money to encourage and incentivize new programs and to develop new programs in collaboration with partner institutions. We set as a goal of $250,000 in that category. Examples would be expanding healthcare programs in development of technology. Other possible areas as informed by workforce reports, the Go Virginia, for example, and people like that. A job skill development is recommended by the Virginia Blue Ridge Works and Workforce Development Board. Again, $250,000 in that category. We call it the Innovation Fund. The fourth category, support the Roanoke Higher Education Center mission of $200,000 there to cover operational costs of the foundation and to offset costs to the authority for salary, payroll, taxes, benefits for the development officer. We'll need to hire a development officer, so that would be in that category. Category 4, as I say, $200,000 is the goal there. Any questions about these proposed goals and priorities? Is there a motion we adopt the board doesn't really have to approve it, but I want to make sure everybody understands it. And this is the foundation board's fundraising priorities. Any questions?
Senator Edwards, this is Kevin Harris, VCU. I was just curious, are the funds transferable between the line item categories, say in response to, unexpected developments in one of the areas?
Yeah, I would think unless the contribution is designated for a particular purpose, certainly if it's just a general designation and put in that category, they could be moved around. But if somebody puts them in a particular category, I would think you'd need to get permission from the donor to transfer it to another category. That shouldn't be hard to do, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, thank you. The genesis of my question was more just thinking this virtual footprint that we all will likely be on in some fashion with some unexpected and even unintended consequences. Just wondering, if it's nimble enough to address some of that as we develop, particularly the student supports and how technology might play a bigger role in that.
I wouldn't think it'd be too big of a problem in that. It's usually, if you make a designated contribution, let's say to a university to endow a professorship, it ought to stick with that. Right. This is not quite that particularized, I don't think. But I would think as a general proposition, we shouldn't have trouble moving things around as needed. Again, subject to the person making the contribution as to whether or not they have any objections to that.
No, thank you. And that would be a good problem. That means we raised the money, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks so much. Any other questions? Okay.
I just think it's a great opportunity for our HEC and the partners.
Exactly. Okay. Let's move on then to 11, plaza development and front entrance repairs. Okay.
John, just one more comment about the priorities. Thank you. I think that was a comment by Andy from Old Dominion University. The scholarships, of course, the money would come to us, but then it would flow then directly to the institution of wherever the student wanted to attend. So that money would flow from us to you, the institutions of higher education. The Innovation Fund is money for you, our partners. What is it that you might need to bring a new program to the Roanoke Higher Education Center, and how can this fund from our foundation assist you in getting it off the ground? The Career Center, our students told us during our focus groups, during our strategic planning stages, is that yes, many of you have career centers on your respective campuses, but it would be good to have that on site here to get the assistance that one might need. So we hope that this shows you that this is an effort on our part to provide extra money to us, but that it will then flow into your pockets for programming and for scholarships.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Kay. I appreciated that aspect. This is Andy. I appreciated that aspect of this effort, and I don't, what the details are and how we do that will be sorted out over time.
Yes.
This is certainly something that would be worthwhile in support of the students who really need some support in your area. I'm pleased to hear about it.
That is correct. Thank you, Andy. It is a way for us to not compete with you. It is a way for us to join in partnership with you. So thank you, Andy, for those comments. Moving on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Any questions? All right. Thank you all very much for that. Moving on to the plaza.
Mr. Chair, many of our board members have had questions about our plaza project. We are progressing nicely. In fact, we are a little ahead of schedule, according to this report. Our RFP for construction went out in mid-November. Jeremiah, I know that you are with us, joining us from a distance. Jeremiah, we had, as I understand it, 9 construction companies to appear at our pre-construction bid conference on November 20th. Is that correct?
Yeah. Hey, this is Jeremiah McMillan, Director of Facilities for the Roanoke Higher Education Center. That's correct, Kay. We actually had 9 individuals, 9 contractors join our mandatory meeting, and now we're in correspondence with those 9. And so we're awaiting the bids from the 9, and then we'll proceed with the selection.
As you recall, we received $328,000 plus an additional $120,000, John, for this project. Jeremiah has worked nicely with the city manager and the city engineer to get our drawings and get our plot of land approved. We are excited because the culinary arts students at Virginia Western Community College will be able to use this green space for an outdoor learning lab. We're looking forward to the interactive displays that will tell the story of the Gainesboro, the rich history of the Gainesboro community. What I have provided for you is a schematic drawing of the plaza and the square footage that will be used for this courtyard. But I have also provided for you what the 7 granite markers, in other words, how will we tell the story of Gainesboro? As you recall, we have had numerous community meetings over the past 12 months. We have received input from the Gainesboro neighborhood. We have received input from the Historic Preservation Restoration Committee. The NAACP has been part of these discussions, and our interpretive story is now in the works. Our committee is made up of a community representative, a representative from Hill Studio, and a representative from the Roanoke Higher Education Center. Also, simultaneously, Jeremiah, happening with the plaza construction, we're going to be doing a little bit of facelift to the front entrance. And these upgrades are basically for safety, are safety in nature. The plank pavers, of course, will match the pavers, the brick pavers that we are installing at the plaza, so that there is some uniformity. Our smoking gazebo will be replaced with a nice facelift. A bike rack has been suggested to us by members of our partners and also from our staff to have a covered bike rack, and some additional plantings and shrubs. The majority of these enhancements will be made possible by capital maintenance reserve, so that will not eat into our operating budget. So we're excited about what 2021 is going to bring, as well as some renovations on our student lounge located on the 4th floor of our building.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Kay. I urge you to take a look at the schematic drawing of this new plaza. Hill Studios helped us put it together. One adjustment was important to make sure the handicap parking would be as close as possible. And then you saw all the, the amenities that are being done. I think we got $450,000 from the General Assembly to do this. And take a look also at the marker text on what the students at Radford are calling the H-HEC Plaza Final, the Higher Education Center Plaza, the marker. It goes from, there's 7 particular markers on the walkway. And if you read them, it tells pretty much as you can in 7 places the history of this area. Gainsborough and Big Lick, and the bringing of the railroad, and the Center for African Americans, urban renewal, what that did to the community, education for African Americans, social and educational integration back in the 60s. And I think people will be happy to see the history of this community. We think this is very important because the Higher Education Center is in an important part of Roanoke's community. Henry Street was the center of the African American education, economic and cultural life for many, many years up into the 70s. And it's important that we preserve this and treat it kind of like as a museum, an outdoor museum. Just as Henry Street has, 5 kiosks, Kay?
Yes.
That if you go up and walk up and down Henry Street next to Virginia Western's Culinary Arts Institute, the Caldmore Educational Complex, it's like a museum. You can stop at each of these kiosks and push a button and listen to somebody talk about what was life like in the past, and in terms of the economic life, the cultural life, the restaurants, cuisine. Yeah, it was a thriving community for many, many years, and we want to preserve that. That's very important to our community. It's very important to Roanoke. And so I hope if you would take a look and read what it's been put down here by Hill Studios, did an awful lot of the work on this, and I think they've done a great job of putting it together. And so I'm very excited about the idea that we're putting it out for bids. Hopefully by next spring we'll have it.
That's correct.
Maybe next spring we'll have it completed, and I think you'll find it a very attractive addition to the Roanoke Higher Education Center, as well as to the history of this community. Are there any comments? Yeah, okay.
John, you also know that as a part of this project, there will be a kiosk, a historic marker placed on the sidewalk designating Oliver Whitehill's office on Center Avenue. So that is part of this project, and we will be working with the Oliver Whitehill Foundation to get their approval on the wording and the look of that marker. This project has taken many avenues. Remember, it's our students who teach us how to teach, and our children who teach us how to be good parents. It's also our community feedback and community input that have taught us a lot about what needed to go into this project and how that interpretive signage needed to be addressed. So while it has taken longer than we thought, this is going to be a much better project than we ever anticipated. So
it's important to note that Oliver Whitehill is one of the great Virginians of all time. He and Thurgood Marshall led the battle with others to integrate the schools in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. Oliver Hill grew up in Roanoke, and he practiced law here in the 30s. And he represented the students against the school board of Prince Edward County. It was part of about 5 cases that were consolidated in 1954 when the Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas was announced. And he was very instrumental in that. And he did an awful lot even before that and a lot after that. Oliver Hill didn't die until about I think 2008, I believe it was. I remember I met him a few times. And he was a law partner with Henry Marsh, my desk mate in the Senate for many years. And I was privileged to have met him a couple of times. And of course, we've named the courthouse in Roanoke the Oliver Whitehill Justice Center. And he lived up the street. We have a marker as to where his house was when he was living here. But right across Center Avenue, within a few steps from where the plaza is going to be, right next to where the Culinary Education Complex is where his office was for many years on Center Avenue. And so we're going to put up a historic marker there about telling the story that this is where his office was. One of the great Virginians of all time. In fact, his name is being mentioned as putting his name in Washington and to replace the Lee statue in the capital of Virginia. We'll see what happens about that decision, but he is one of the truly great Virginians of all time, and he practiced law here probably 1936, 37, 38 era, I believe, and then eventually moved back to Richmond, and that's where he did most of his work. Any questions about this? I'm very excited about what we're doing here.
Senator Edwards, I'm so excited about the schematics. This is really impressive. And I know that you and Kay and others have really had a long journey on this. And it's always important that we remember to include our community voices. But this thought just came to me as the foundation is launching and publicizing its new campaign. Are we losing an opportunity if we don't do a brick paver campaign? I think about the back entrance into the conference center at the Hotel Roanoke. I think about the pavers at many of our YMCAs throughout the Roanoke Valley. And I know the pavers wouldn't really be needed to contribute to this project, but could it be used or considered to be used as a naming opportunities for those that would provide a gift to the foundation? It's just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's been discussed in the past, and we'll probably continue discussing that.
Yes, but Susan, it's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? But again, I urge you to read the marker text and take a look at the plaza design. I'm very excited about what we're doing here. Okay, go ahead, okay? Yeah. We have the next show is the annual report that Carla James Jackson is going to present to us.
I'm actually not going to present it. I just want to draw your attention to the 2020 annual report. I hope that you all have had a chance to read it. And I want to thank you for your contributions to the report. It is definitely a community effort. And this annual report isn't really about the Higher Education Center. It's really about you, our members, your programs, and your students. So we're happy to highlight that. Your success is our success. We're proud of this annual report. It also celebrates our 20th anniversary. And as you review the report, please take a look at the member profile. We are profiling our newest member, Commonwealth Learning Systems. We also featured the clinical simulation lab that Andrea spoke about earlier. So please take a look at that. And then we also featured a graduate from Old Dominion University who's close here at the Roanoke Higher Education Center. So I hope you enjoy reading it. You will all receive printed copies in the mail. And if you need additional copies for any other purpose, please let my office know and we can send you additional copies.
Do you have a copy yet of the annual report?
They have it
electronically.
Yes.
20th year, hard to believe. Any other comments?
Hi, just one quick question Kevin has. Dr. James, is there, is this being distributed electronically or otherwise to some potential stakeholders at the university? I'm thinking about some of the visits that you and Dr. Dunkley made, and just kind of wanted to know if, should I get those reports to those individuals, or is it coming directly from you?
Dr. Susan Parrish is definitely on our list, Kevin, but if there are others from VCU that you wish to receive the report, please let us know. We're putting those mailing lists together actually this week.
That'll be great. I'll get you a few names.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
We are, Senator Edwards, working in conjunction with VCU and Carilion and Virginia Western and Radford University on another lab opportunity here at the center.
Okay, what's that about?
Radiography and sonography, and how Radford can also, Radford students can benefit, but matriculation from Virginia Western to VCU. Those discussions are in the works, and Carilion is definitely on board with that initiative.
I'm really excited about what we did a couple of years ago with the Sim Lab. If you have not visited the Sim Lab, by all means go down there. It's very interesting. Absolutely very interesting.
Our student lounge, John, definitely COVID and the 6 foot of distancing, easy to wash and wipe and so forth. So this student lounge project, of which you did provide some funding for us through our cash reserves, that project is in the works as well.
Right. Okay, we're making progress. Any other comments that would anybody like to bring before the board meeting?
Senator Edwards, this is Elda, and before we move to that last section, I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Carla James Jackson on this packet. It's aesthetically, it's beautiful, it's fresh, the graphics are fantastic, the color scheme is modern yet keeps in line with the center, and it's just a really pleasing to the eye, easy to read, easy to look through. The photography is great, so just heartfelt congratulations on this.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, thanks so much, Carla.
Carla championed this project, and accolades and congratulations she certainly deserves. Those corporations on our prospective donor list, that this will be one of the touch points that we're using as we start our campaign. So we're excited about this report, Carla. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any further comments? I want to say again, our staff is fantastic. We're proud of them. And I want to thank all the hard work. This has been a tough year for everybody.
It has been a tough year, but thank you, Board of Trustees, for your confidence in your pledge for the 2% raise and the $10,000 bonus to be distributed. I can tell you that it brings joy to our hearts. Yes, we have worked incredibly hard, and we will continue to do so.
Let's hope 2021 is a better year for everybody.
But I think everybody on this call can say the very same thing. We have trudged along just as we have. So hats off to you as well.
Thank you so much. Announcements of upcoming executive committee and full board meetings. On 2021, Tuesday, May the 18th at 2 o'clock, the executive committee will meet. Wednesday, June the 2nd, the full board will meet at 12 o'clock. Tuesday, November the 16th, the executive committee again at 2 o'clock. And then Wednesday, December the 1st, a year from now, the full board meeting. be sure and put those on your calendars. Any other business? Again, thank you all for taking your time to enjoy us with this Zoom meeting. We've gotten all used to these kind of Zoom meetings. We hope next year we don't have to do all these Zoom meetings. We can physically be present. But again, thank you all for your attendance. And if nothing else further before the board, the meeting will be officially adjourned. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Great job.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great thing, everyone.
Oh, well. Good.